right. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Mental Health Mondays. I am AA Ron, but sometimes known as Mind Runner. But today with me, my guest, I'm super excited because she is a Vegas-raised girl. Even though she was born in Germany and lives in LA, Vegas goes through her veins. She is a cancer survivor. In fact, she kicked cancer's ass recently. Congratulations. She is an actress, model. She is a source of faith and inspiration on Instagram. In fact, she has got the face of an angel, but she's also pretty ruthless. We'll explain what that has to do very soon. She also, let's see, anything else? Oh, yeah. She was the 1992 Playboy Playmate of the Year, and she hosts the Bunny Chronicles with fellow Playmate Echo Johnson. You might remember her from one of my favorite roles as the sympathetic cocktail waitress in one of my favorite movies, Rat Race. Of course, I am talking about none other than Corinna Harney Jones. Welcome to Mental Health Mondays.
Thank you, Aaron. Gosh, that was quite the introduction. I'm so impressed that you even know any of those things. That was
I was aiming high. I was hoping to.
And my original Instagram was hacked right before the pandemic. So I kind of have a few different Instagram accounts now, and I just lost my momentum with that. Kind of knocks the wind out of you. It was kind of sad, and I didn't try to find anybody that was following me or anything. But anyway, not that any of that is important, but
it is important because if you want to read very inspirational and very faith-inspiring posts on Instagram, as well as the face of an angel who may be ruthless, we'll talk about that in a second. I'll put it in the description in post edit. But follow Corinna Harney Jones on Instagram, and I love saying Corinna Harney Jones because I feel like that's a name that's like you and Pam Grier should be like fighting crime on the streets together or something.
That would be amazing.
Corinna Harney Jones, you're under arrest, sugar.
That would be amazing. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a ruthless Ruth Angel. We're having fun with her.
Yeah. So that's a film coming. I understand it's kind of a slasher, kind of a comedy. How much can you talk about, or how much is still kind of?
The fun thing is, because it's not a Hollywood picture, if you will. It's my friend Trevor. It's his second feature film. He hasn't even released the first one, and I played 3 different characters in his first film. And I tell him, you're either a genius or you're completely mad. He's a mad genius, but some of it's just very funny and fun and campy, and it's been a blast. It's really been fun.
There's something about when you're feeling that vibe too. You're onto something. When you're having fun, I feel like that translates on film.
Yes.
Have you found that?
Oh yeah, yes. Even when I'm in character, when I'm in Ruth, I giggle and it's ruthless, and I'm like, I never would do that in real life, and obviously wouldn't be. I won't tell any more about the film, but please,
no spoilers.
I'll let everyone know about it when it's released.
The only thing this is not a spoiler because I know nothing about the film, but my just take on some of the photos that you've uploaded is she sounds like she's like this kind of like a Stone Cold angel, kind of like Stone Cold Steve Austin, but an angel. And because there's a bit of wrestling involved in this, right? Pro wrestling.
Yes, and I can tell you, yes.
And she's kind of like the final girl. It's kind of a slasher, but maybe she's like, with the term final girl, where in most slasher movies like Jason or what have you, there's always that one girl at the end that survives, that finally survives. Like she's kind of like the ass kicker.
The only difference is Ruth, she has it. I mean, this character is out there, but she has multiple personality disorder that no one knows this. You can kind of tell, you'll be able to tell at the beginning of the film, but she snapped an opponent's neck in the ring, sadly. Yeah, really bad, really, but it made her snap. And so she ends up in a mental institution, and they're doing awful things to her in there. And then she breaks free and goes on a rampage. But the fun thing is, it's like she's a superhero in a sense. That's how I feel. I'm like,
yeah.
Ruth kind of, some of these people have it coming, and I'm thinking of it from my point of view, as you know, as I play her, I think of these kills, because I'm not a big slasher fan. I don't even like slasher movies, but it's a whole psychology that's so different. It's a whole totally different world. So I think of it in terms of metaphors, like not real. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way I have fun playing it. I tried to get out of this movie, and my husband said, Trevor wrote this for you, and that's pretty incredible. Nobody else has written a character for me like this. And then my neck went out, and I thought, well, maybe God's telling me I'm not supposed to do the film, And I said that to Trevor. I go, Trevor, my faith and everything. I'm thinking God's like, no. And he's like, oh no, Corinna, you have to do this. We're going to wait for you to get well. Meanwhile, I'm laying in bed and I can't move my arms. I have a really bad neck. And anyway, I couldn't move. I had to be still and just lay in bed. And I really prayed about it. And then here we are. I'm making a slasher comedy.
Do you feel like, though, like, because you sometimes, a lot of times we talk on Mental Health Mondays, we talk about that divine pull, there, and some of my guests are not Christian, some are, but there seems to always be some kind of like divine pull where, like you're going the right direction. And, like a lot of, I prayed a lot, with when my stepfather passed away recently, I've been praying a lot for my mom to kind of find guidance, and things just seem to be falling in line. And the power of prayer really seems to be something that is tangible, even though it's something kind of like, sometimes people are funny about talking about beliefs and religion and Christianity. But do you find that it's difficult to be a person of faith nowadays, or are you surrounded by people that are of similar feeling?
Well, honestly, no. I feel, especially in my industry, people are very off-put. It's kind of sad, because here's the thing, you're just making me think about this right now, and I won't say who the person is. Obviously, that would be gossip. I'm not going to talk about people, but personally,
no
I've had young people, I've had young actresses, young people say to me, they're on medication, they're completely depressed, they feel like life is hopeless, they've been suicidal. And I say, there is hope there for me personally. There's hope, and that hope is Jesus Christ, and he's real and powerful and loves, God loved the world so much. That's why it's the most beautiful message. He loved the world. That's every person. It's every religion. It's every person that was ever born, past, present, and future. He loved the world so much. And that's why he sent his son to that cross, and, sent him into the world on that first Christmas. He was the God man that lived a sinless life. And it's so beautiful, his love for us. And it's so powerful. And you can tell people this, that, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son, so that whosoever believes in him will have the gift of eternal life. And they'll, you can accept that or reject it. God's a God of grace and love. He's not going to, say comply or die. No. But
here comes a lightning bolt if you don't.
But we're all going to die. It's like, that's real. We're all going to die. And fear of death prevents people from living. And depression, even as a Christian, I suffer from depression. It's a physiological thing. There's also brain makeup and things, but
we're human,
Yeah, we're human. Exactly. And we all are going to fail until the day we die. But the beautiful thing is God's love picking up that slack, and how he does give us with his word, the Bible, these beautiful gems. And you tell people that because you love them, because you've got, you want to share God's love. And, for me, it's so sad, because I'll tell someone it is. It's the saddest thing there is. When somebody is hopeless, you offer them hope and they say no. And they're still miserable. And then they try to, self-help or, psychological hoops they go through. And, they'll have, it's circumstances that make them happy. And the difference is for us, Aaron, circumstances don't matter when you have God. In fact, some of the happiest, and that's supernatural, some of the happiest people I've ever seen are suffering the very worst. And even, the worst, going through the worst kind of suffering, and a joy, a real joy. Only God can do that,
Absolutely. And, just to kind of touch on what you were saying too, I've noticed a lot of my interactions with those that aren't, I wouldn't say non-believers, but just because a lot of when Christianity or when your religion is absent, other things will fill it. And I think sometimes people will fill that absence with substance, or they'll fill it with something else. And I think, I've had conversations with friends that aren't Christians, and whenever I bring up my faith, it's usually met with, well, this thing right here on paragraph 12 in the Bible of, this, or, hey, I had a bad experience with this one church a long time ago. And my comment is, but that's, you're talking about the human flaws. The human, when you're not talking about God's love, you're talking about like human error. I can understand if you had a bad experience with a priest, and I'm not going there with it, but
that's awful, but that has nothing to do with God. Exactly. He didn't do that. Yeah.
And like my mom's going through right now, losing her husband so recently. I mean, it was less than a month ago, yet she's fine. And it's weird because my wife lost her mom in January, and my stepfather was a minister. He was talking to us, and he put things in perspective about, he said that if it's her time, if God feels like it's her time, it's her time. And he really kind of, and it was that, if you think about that, it's actually comforting, because, it's kind of like that realm of concern versus realm of control. If there's the things that you can control in your life, focus, you can worry about those, focus those. But anything that's beyond your control, if you leave to God, it'll get taken care of. It's and worrying about it's just going to make you feel sick. And now he's passed, and my mom, although it's, breaks her heart, so many things in her life now. There's so many people that he's touched as being a minister, and the congregations and people and family are just rallying around my mom and everything, helping her, guide her with this, that, like what to do with the house, what to do with this and that. And she just feels that overwhelming love. And to me, that's tremendous. To me, that's God's love. That's that comfort. That's what happens when, and like you said, you could have the most tragic thing happen to you, but you can still be and positive, and not like blindly positive, like I'm still okay.
Yeah. Oh no. You can cry and still be happy. There's different. Happiness is a spectrum. It's a spectrum from contentment contentment in the worst circumstances to ecstatics, where you celebrate something. Yeah, exactly. Happiness is not just happy. Oh, look, my husband died. Yay. No. Yay, I have cancer.
I would worry about somebody that celebrates when their husband dies. I'd start to look at that will and
no, that's pretty bizarre. No.
Drink your tea, honey.
Yes, exactly. Oh my gosh, yeah. No.
Have you heard of the term toxic positivity? Because I've heard some people use that, and to me, I don't understand how somebody could be positive and toxic, but I think they might mean, that.
Well, I understand it. I understand it because I've been around it, because people, all of us, and we're human. I'm not pinpointing anybody, but people can be phony. People can be very phony, and they're masking. It's God, if you wanted to say, there's a verse in the Bible that says that, it's better to eat alone than have an enemy that's, serving you dinner and, oh, so glad to see you. And really like daggers.
Yeah. So happy to have you here.
Yeah. Oh, and so, or, and
Yeah.
when people are, I think people feel that, you can kind of sense if somebody's faking their happiness. And, anyway, you're either really, it's a genuine, it's either there or it's not. And maybe that's what they mean. Or also, people can be very self-centered. They know that you're suffering. I've seen this personally, sadly, where people are gloating over your suffering.
Yeah.
And they think that it's like, oh, good, finally, this is happening to her. They don't have to say it, but when people aren't there or they're just silent, sometimes, and I think that's toxic positivity. It's phoniness. You know what I mean? It's like someone telling someone right now with what's going on in Israel, telling someone, oh, but God works it all out. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's just not. I think those are the things people call toxic positivity, right? You're being insensitive to someone and they're suffering. And sometimes it's better to have compassion and cry with someone if it's from your heart. And you can have sadness and genuine sorrow than to have, don't worry. I've had people do that. Plug right through. You got this.
You got this.
Yeah. I need someone to sit and cry with me. Is that okay? But then it's beautiful when you have your faith because God is there. And that is a beautiful thing. And that's all. As a Christian, that's really all you need. We shouldn't depend on people, but we're not islands either. And,
we're human too. So just walk it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Corinna, you got cancer. Yeah, walk it off. It'll be
walk it off. You got this. You got a really strong faith.
yeah, you got this. Because I saw you reposted a video, I guess, when you were first found out about cancer, and you said it was funny to you because I guess your reaction was something like, my fans in Sweden, guess what? I got cancer. And you had this look at you like, hey,
It is, but it's life is funny. You have to laugh or, laugh about things. I was on an elevator the other day. I was leaving the cancer center where I'll always be going because they check you and screen you and make sure everything's okay. So I was visiting I think it was not my oncologist, my surgeon. And we were leaving and it just so happened that this building that has all kinds of different offices, not just the cancer center, but it's adjacent to this hospital. Anyway, it was super busy that day. And one of the guys was clearly going through chemo. He was leaving the same thing. He had no hair. It was very thin. And he was definitely going through his cancer, and treatments. And he's in a wheelchair. And we all get on the elevator. First of all, it was so full when it was going down. And then we all get on, the man in the wheelchair gets on, and it's so full. This elevator is so full. And then we go down, and then this lady that was also leaving the cancer center, she told the lady on the floor that was getting on, because the elevator opened on the second floor, and she goes, come on in. She goes, are you sure? Just like we did. We thought this elevator's so full, but we all crammed in there. The lady, she goes, come on in. And then the lady that got on the elevator, she goes, oh my gosh, I've never seen this complex so busy. I guess that's good. And my humor,
oh boy.
She goes, I guess that's good. And my humor was, I go, yay, cancer. Anyway, she goes, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I go, no. And the man in the wheelchair chuckled. He
that's
started
awesome.
laughing. You've got to laugh. And
yes,
bless her heart, she wasn't thinking anything, but I was like, yay, cancer. She goes, oh my God. It was probably 3 or 4 of us on that elevator that just so happened, it was just, it's just life. You can't,
You gotta add levity,
Yeah.
like there's a term called gallows humor where, when people are in a terrible situation, but they make jokes, like sometimes dark humor, but
Yes, I love dark humor. It's awful. A lot of people.
Yes, and yay cancer. That's kind of a
yay,
hey. That could be. Hey, tell your folks, tell your production company that's the next movie. Yay cancer. About a former a Playboy bunny who gets a diagnosis but keeps a positive attitude, or you can play some other character. But that's I do feel that levity is important. And you got to be able to laugh at yourself. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh my gosh. Here I am. I'm 51 and I'm playing a character that was a former wrestler. I mean, that's God's humor in and of itself, right there. But yeah, I think we do. We have to laugh at ourselves. I think one of the, and again, for me, we're all made different by God too. And a spiritual life for me makes things, they are funny. Life is funny. I mean, it's, I do like that, being able to find
humor where it needs to be, because breaking that tension is always important. Did you do any research for Ruthless Angel? Were you a wrestling fan before this movie?
What's so funny is I was not, and sadly I kind of thought, oh my gosh, these people, this is not real. This is, and then in the middle of filming, I hadn't seen, actually what was fun for me as an actress, I take it seriously, even though it's probably not, I like to do the research. So of course I was looking up all kinds of different wrestlers, and it's fascinating to me. I started watching shows. I watched, oh gosh, I can't even think of the television. It's a TV series, and Glow. Yes. So good. And one of the characters, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's kind of fun, because some of the research I did, I knew what she was doing too, but the showmanship is beautiful. The story is beautiful. I'm finding just how much work goes into it, and it's very physical, and no one gets out unscathed. Like, you think, oh, that's all staged, and it is to a certain extent, but they're very physical, and they don't do it. Not one person leaves without a back injury, at least once in their career. It's not easy. And then the story, and I just appreciate all of that now, and it's so fun to me. Yeah.
It's really cool, because I was a fan of the Glow show growing up, and I'm 2 years behind you. I mean, I was born in 1974. So like I watched the original Glow show, and I got into it because of the characters. And it wasn't like, this was before like WWE was having a lot of their women wrestlers. And it was even funny because the Russian character on there, Ninotchka, looked just like my friend Brian's mom. And we had this rumor that she's that's her night job, like, or like she goes, like she secretly heads out to Vegas and films and does all that stuff.
Oh, awesome.
But when I watched the series, I was like, oh, I know, like, because they couldn't use the same names, but you could figure out who was who. And I liked that, because for a while WWE had women's wrestling was like bra and panty matches and mud wrestling and wrestling spaghetti, which that it's totally fine if, like, to celebrate your body, like if a woman wants to do that and wants to go for that, it's totally cool. But like but women's wrestling, the actual wrestling, taking bumps and doing the flippy do stuff is insane. But now like today, there's seems to be such a surge, and I think the internet helps with that, because you can see these local women's wrestlers, and like Mission Pro Wrestling out in Texas, they have it's all women. It's an all women show. Actually, no, they do have a guy, and he's a heel. He's like, and his character is, I'm better than you women.
Heels are the best.
When he gets his ass kicked all the time. It's great. Yeah, like, have you ever taken a bump, or would you ever get in the ring, and or maybe you have in the?
Here's what's fun. One of the scenes we still have to film. Ruth hasn't even gotten into the ring, but I know it sounds so weird, but every kill, she thinks she's in the ring. And it was fun coming up with her, and I approached it that way, the way these wrestlers do. She has a story in and of itself, Ruth Angel, why she's Ruth Angel. And I guess you could call her, but as the character when I'm playing her, she doesn't know this, but she's a spiritual narcissist, which that's a thing, you know, and it's funny. She's Miss Holy, you know, like she does this whole thing in the ring and gets people pumped up, and, you know, she's going to save the world. she does love the Lord. She does. But, you know, she loves the Lord. Yeah. She may not cuss, but she will kill you.
Yeah. She won't cuss, but she'll rip your tongue out.
Cuss, but she will wipe you out.
Does she have a finishing move? Like, is there the get your wings, or the halo hammer?
Yeah. Well, you know, when she goes into the ring, she takes the wing. You know, when the wings are coming off, it's serious now. Wings
are off.
Wings are off. Yeah.
Would you do a promotional match to promote the movie when it's released? Like,
I would have a blast. But back to that, we are going to get to go into. Trevor is friends with someone, and shame on me because it's leaving my head. It's wrestling here in Vegas. It's a smaller ring, and it's anyway. We're going to get in that ring and do some fun stuff for some of the. There's news footage that's in the film and things that you'll see when they're showing Ruth when she's on her rampage.
Is she based off a real character? Like, is this like
no? We came up with. So Trevor got the rights to the worst movie of all time. I'm not even going to tell you what it is, but I will. I guess I can tell you. It's Las Vegas Bloodbath.
Oh, that sounds so awesome.
It's so bad. It's so, when I say that, it's not my cup of tea, but he always wanted to redo the movie. Yeah. But he flipped the script, made it a female lead, and we all collaborated with this character and came up with her costume. And the more, you know, and this is what's fun about the actor's work, the more you're feeding this character, she started coming to life in a way, you know, and it took us a long time. We were trying on costume after costume after costume after costume. And from my work that I had done on this character, pages and pages of, you know, it's just the way I work personally. You know, she has all these memories and things that shaped who she is. It all clicked with a costume. Yeah. Like, this is her. And all of the other things we thought was her was not her. And this costume, there she was. So that was fun. And anyway, it's her signature costume because she was an iconic wrestler in the 90s and then was put up and put away and then comes out. I won't give any more.
Well, yeah, you don't want to give away the whole thing, but it sounds compelling. Sounds awesome.
It's not for kids, you know. That's one thing. It's not a movie for kids. I know, you know, Trevor has all kinds of things in there. That was another reason I'm like, I don't know, but it's gonna be outrageous if there are any horror or slasher comedy, you know, fans out there. I think it'll be something that
won't be everybody's cup of tea, but
no,
if you like the sound,
people, I'm not even going to tell them that I did it. You know, I didn't do that.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, Mom, yeah.
yeah, because I've had a few people. In fact, there's a lady I take, you know, pick up to go to church. She's like, let me know when your movie comes out. I'm like,
we could have a showing.
I'm honest about it. You know, I even told her, I don't think it's going to be your cup of tea. It's a lot of blood.
We're
A lot
going
of
to have a
blood.
showing of Corinna's movie at the community room in the church. Come on,
No,
everybody! And it's like,
no.
oh,
My pastor would be like,
can we talk after the? Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, well, if you're a fan, if anybody out there is a fan of just hearing the word Vegas bloodbath, you're definitely going to be. This is probably going to be your cup of tea.
Yeah.
How was it growing up in Vegas, in quote unquote Sin City? And what are some misconceptions the tourists might have of Vegas versus a townie? I hate to use, or for lack of a better term.
Well, it's a very family community, believe it or not. It's kind of a fun dichotomy in Vegas where you have your entertainers, the strip down, I'm a downtown girl. I even had a show here called Alibi the Show. I want to get it back up. I'm here in Vegas, by the way. But yeah, and but then it's backyard barbecues. And, when I'm with my family, my brother and sister live in the same neighborhood, and it's all family. And then you have your beauty. I love the desert. It has its own unique beauty, but it has grown. It was a small town when I was growing up here. Now it's a huge city, and you have so many celebrities leaving Hollywood that are moving here, I think because it's closer, but you still have your entertainment. Now we have, the Raiders here. We have obviously the Vegas Golden Knights. It's now beyond big city. It's kind of a entertainment mecca. But I'm not real big on the casinos or gambling, so that's been good for me. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
But you kind of have everything, you have a little bit of everything. Yeah.
And but you don't have humidity very much.
No, well, I'm telling you, it has changed. It's probably becoming like Phoenix. I call that a kind of a wet desert because we've never had mosquitoes. And people are being eaten alive by mosquitoes right now.
Wow.
It never. And I always kind of bragged about it. I'd be like, yeah, we don't have bugs. I can sleep outside if I want to, under the stars. Not any, there are no bugs. There are no mosquitoes. Well, now
and then suddenly.
Yeah.
What?
Yes. The more with the population, it's a desert, but it becomes an oasis. You have everybody with their trees. It poses its own different, things. But yeah, now I can't say there are no bugs. They're not as bad as most humid places, but we're kind of getting a little bit of precipitation because people.
Hey, are there too many people now? Is it time for something?
A lot of those of us that are natives, and I call myself a native. I was born in Germany, but mostly raised, and my brother and sister were born here. So as a native, it was a small town. I tell my husband that all the time because he can't stand the traffic. He's from a small town in Texas. And he said, I can't believe this. This is outrageous. We have traffic now. And it was a small town when I was growing up, believe it or not. In the 70s, especially in the 80s, it was lots of desert. Now everything is just built up and they're still building. So, yeah.
What do you think of the sphere, that giant sphere that in Vegas now?
So cool. I'm obsessed with that thing. I haven't been down there, but I went up to the foundation room a couple weeks ago. I have friends that play for Nashville. It's called Nashville Unplugged at
cool.
Mandalay Bay. Yeah, they're so neat. So they come in from Nashville and play the song. It's the story behind the song. And so I went up with a couple of them up to the foundation room because I had never been up there all these years. And it's supposed to be some special, it's pretty cool. We got a whole tour from this sweet lady that used to run the whole thing. Anyway, we were out on the balcony and I saw the sphere and I started filming it because it looks so freaky, and it's got all these different pictures, and it would turn into an eyeball and then turn into, and
that's what freaks me out, the eyeball.
It's so weird. And so I was just staring at it going, I want to go inside of it, because apparently that's where U2 has their residency, or
I think so.
So I want to go see it. It's
that's so cool. Whenever, like, my wife and I, we met in Vegas. Like, that's actually where we met. In fact, we sent her mom a picture of the two of us in front of the drive-through wedding chapel just to scare her. We didn't get married there. It was years later, but we prefer Fremont Street.
That's where my show was. Alibi the show was. I think my website's down now because we've been closed since the pandemic. But I love downtown. Fremont Street, since the pandemic, has kind of gone downhill. A lot of things have closed, but I love Main Street. Have you been to Main Street? That's my favorite.
That's nice. Yeah. And it's interesting how Vegas is constantly changing. We first stayed together at the Sahara. They demolished it, but then they've recently, in the last few years, brought it back. So and remodeled, and so it's pretty cool. And there's so much more to do. I think most people, when they think of Vegas, they immediately think casino, but there's so much like you say, it's becoming kind of like an entertainment mecca.
Yeah, and we have more, people always call it culture, but the art, I've loved the arts district, and we needed that, and that's been in the past 15 years. They've started, we've gotten kind of an art scene and things that Vegas didn't have. It was always just the Strip, and then Fremont was, anyway, and then Tony Hsieh, I guess he was doing a lot downtown, and then when he passed, a lot of things just went. I don't think anybody was focused on doing anything downtown. So it's not the same.
Yeah, and sadly. The pandemic, there's, kind of, I'm an optimist, but I'm also a skeptic, or, I can be cynical, but also idealistic. I do feel like there were some positives that came out of, like, the pandemic and the shutdown, but it really took a toll on a lot of people's mental health. How did you get through the pandemic in one piece without pulling your hair out and jumping into the wall or something?
Honestly, once again, it was, it's sad. People think it's so boring. It's not only not boring, and the reason I say that, I hear people in my head going, how do you study the Bible? I love it. And it's food for the soul. And for me, I've found some great, my pastor is a great Bible teacher and goes back to the original languages of the Greek and the Hebrew and the Aramaic. And throughout history, there are things, fear, you can't allow fear. Fear prevents you from living. I think a lot of people went through that, but just being cut off and out of control. I mean, we drove down the Strip when it had never been dead like it was with they shut everything down, and that was a bizarre feeling. And even with a spiritual life, I call it a spiritual life because it's the filling of the Holy Spirit. It's God's power, not our own. That's the difference, for me. When I say let go, let God, it's not just a blind faith. It's okay, you're commanding me, fear not, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed. Do not anxiously look about you. I got you. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You do. Okay. But then it's going to flood your mind again. We're human. Oh my gosh. Are things ever going to be normal? Am I going to die when I get this virus? What do we do? Do I get the vaccine? Do I do it? There's so many things. And I think people are resilient even without faith. They realize, oh, I got through this. Okay. Everybody has different solutions, but for me personally, my solution to any kind of mental Of course it was depression. Of course it was, you know, all kinds of real things that were going through my mind personally. I just said, you got this, Lord. And I thank you. Thank you. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful that this is, you know, time for me to focus on what's right. And, you know, and it is what it is. And I've, you know, he taught me, and I know it was his lesson for me personally, and everybody's different, but it's like, okay, after the pandemic, so I started making my own plans. When the pandemic, when we get through this and things open back up, I'm going to get my business back up. I'm going to do this. I was gung ho. Oh, watch it. I went and got new headshots. I think I had changed my hair color, and I was like, I'm going to focus on my acting. And it doesn't matter what age you are, you can do whatever you want. And I was making my own plans. God laughs.
Yeah, I was going to say.
2022, this was right before 2022. 2022, I'm coming for you, you know, and then bam. No, by the way, you have cancer. Oh.
Yeah, record scratch.
Yeah, and everything changes. You hear the C word, and you know, it's like, oh my gosh, now I'm fighting for my life, and I need to get well, and you know, that's what you focus. Your focus shifts, and then I'm like, and then God says, you know, His word commands you to pray without ceasing. You know, have gratitude. Be grateful. So I'm like, thank you for my gift. You know, it's not an easy thing to do, but when you do, as odd as that sounds, you know, thank you for sitting me still. Thank you that my business failed. Thank you that people have turned their backs on me. Thank you that you've given me cancer and gotten me alone, you know, and so many other things I won't even mention, you know, but the world hates us, but God loves us. And so the fun thing is, okay, it's your plan. I'm listening. I'm going to do your plan.
It's that realm of concern, realm of control. It's like, you know, once you, you know, focus the stuff that you can control, absolutely. But you have no idea what tomorrow is going to bring. You have no idea.
Maybe there's your toxic positivity. People saying, oh, everything works together for good. And you're, you know, it's all, you know what? Sometimes people are dying and on their deathbed. And what do you tell them? Don't worry. Just be happy.
It's going to be okay. Yay, death.
People are losing their homes. People can't afford to live. They can't afford to eat. Wars on two fronts right now and could be coming here, but whatever.
Right? Hey. Do you feel though, like, you know, when your business, when things shut down for you, do you feel like that was actually a pull into a different direction where you needed to be? Because here you are making all these plans, and like you said, God laughed when you made plans. Oh, you're gonna make plans, huh?
Hey. All right.
Do you feel there was like a divine pull to put you in the place you needed to be?
I honestly, yes. Yeah. And one of those things, and again, this is a personal thing. I can't, you know, is, you know, what's important? What's the most important thing? Is it, for me, is it God and His word and really studying? Because to me, it's like, I need to study every single day. Otherwise, you know, it's not only comfort, it's, as a Christian, you know, it's what God's called me to do. You learn and then share whatever information you might have when someone asks. I don't think that it's another thing that, you know, all Christians differ with things, but I believe when I learned about the spiritual gifts, God's given different spiritual gifts, and there's different dispensations and timelines in history, the epics. And I love learning about these things because it makes sense to me. I don't think God has given the spiritual gift of pastor teacher to women. And that's something people are like, you know, I would rather be what people call, you know, you're in the Stone Age. You know, we have ministry. I have a ministry, a personal private ministry. But I know I don't have the spiritual gift of pastor teacher. That's for a few men. And it's a very difficult gift, as you know, with your dad having passed,
Yep.
they're on the front lines. They're on the front lines. You know, it's tough. I don't think God puts women on the front lines like that. We all are anyway.
We're all
but you know what I mean with,
yeah.
with the spiritual gift of pastor teacher. But again, these are things people, you know, you learn and you grow, and you have to grow. It's like a surgeon can't be a surgeon unless he learns these things. God expects us to use our brain and learn. And so I think that that's something that he sat me still to do is, you know, keep listening, keep learning, keep digging into it's infinite. His word is infinite, and it builds on itself, and it's beautiful. So anyway, I don't go around usually saying this, but it's awesome that you have your you know, your faith, and
it's interesting too, though, because kind of going back to like when talking about faith, we should be like, there shouldn't be a stigma with it. Do you feel like sometimes like we talked about, sometimes when you bring up your faith, there seems to be like religion, but when I have conversations with my friends, when I go down the list of things we agree on gratitude, we agree on loving one another, we agree on treating each other, you know, all these things. And then it just, when it gets to, all right, well, you know, let me talk about Christ. And they're like, oh, no, don't give me that mumbo jumbo, blah, blah, blah.
But here's the difference. If you really were to compare it, just, you know, I hate to use psychology, but psychologically looking at it, you take two people, someone with their faith in Christ that loves the Lord, that has a relationship with him, and that his love's flowing through them. You take someone who's an unbeliever, who, I don't want to have anything to do with that Jesus freaks and Jesus, and this is bizarre. No, positivity. I think the person with the faith, because I've seen it, the person with Christ and with his love and with his hope, when they're being beat down or something awful happens, it's not a psychological, oh, I'm going to love you anyway, or if you were to remove things from them, I think the person with their faith, it's God doing it. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Otherwise, if we were like the unbeliever and everything bad's happening, and it's so easy to become bitter. It's not fair. People aren't treating you right. Whatever it is, you know, you could go on and on. The list is infinite.
Yeah, you start making
awful
excuses,
things. An awful person doing awful things to you. The natural reaction, you know, would be what it is, and sometimes hatred, whatever. But I believe that faith is such a beautiful thing, to just say, okay, Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. I don't think that the unbeliever really gets, I mean, they can't, you know, and you just love them and keep giving them the gospel. I have very close friends that are unbelievers, and they're like, Corinna, it's just you. I love you. And you radiate love. And I had one of my very good friends say, you taught me what love is. And I say, do you not see that?
Well, that's how did you learn?
Well, let me tell you. Me. That's not me. No, it's you. It's you. It's just you. Absolutely not. It is not me. It is God. I promise. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And you know, I do think there's, and this goes not just with religion, but I think with a lot of things, is a lot of times people judge a group based on the worst representation. You know, like there are people that look at Christians as the same, all Christians as the same as the Westboro Baptist, you know, people screaming and throwing stuff. Or they'll judge all Democrats or all Republicans or all you know, Eagles fans or all, you know, Nets fans as the worst representation.
Yes. And that's like Raiders. You know, you could, a lot of people, I'm a Raider hater, you know, that because it's just, it's almost human nature to do that, right? And
I wonder if
it's sad because they're not really listening or hearing the root of it, you know.
They're not listening to, like, and there is something about, I think it is like it's a human nature. And again, we have our spiritual selves, our human selves. I think it is to judge, to judge a group. Like, if, for example, if every morning you walked out of your house, someone with an orange baseball cap ran up and slapped you in the face every morning, like every Monday through Friday, and then one morning you go to your job and you see somebody with an orange baseball cap, you're going to be nervous, even though this person may never slap you, may just happen to be wearing an orange baseball cap. I think that's a human nature thing.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's up to us.
Warning that you give off, because that's what happened to you. If something happened, it's experience. Yeah.
I think that's something that one of the things I really hope in society is that we do more active listening and communication rather than being. Do you feel like do you feel like social media exasperates this a little bit, where everybody wants to get there? They want to own, they want to dunk on somebody rather than listening.
Oh yeah. It's ever increasing in knowledge and never able to come to know the truth. People don't care about truth. It's emotions versus thinking. People, because emotions can't think; they're emoting, and they'll go with one thing. I mean, you can watch it all day long right now with Israel and Palestine. It's people become emotional, and they don't have facts. They don't care about facts, and now with social media, we're just fed, and it's snippets and things that stir our emotions, and there's no intellect. We've lost thought. We really have. It's not only dangerous, it's devastating, because there is truth. There absolutely is truth, and there is false and lies. That's real. That's reality. And there's no gray, some people think the truth is gray areas. You can get into that all day long. That goes in a million different directions. But the fact is, there's reality. And some people, I think, are not only not living in reality, they're living in fantasy. They're living in a sort of a bubble, and they don't want to think. They're very lazy. I got that. I got that.
I'm in my bubble. Yeah.
I know what I know. Okay. I don't need to hear that.
Okay.
I know what I know.
And now
you're triggering me.
Back away.
I'm so triggered.
Oh my God.
We never had these words before. Triggered. I mean, I get it. I get some of them.
My truth. What about my truth?
Everybody's a narcissist now. Everyone's triggered. Yeah, my truth and my feelings, and I need space right now. It's like, don't bother me with the facts. I don't want to hear the truth. This is about how I feel, and that's so dangerous, don't you think? Like, we really need to weigh things. Thinking isn't easy. Thinking is not an easy thing to do. I know, it's easier to be lazy and just be like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, it's like people want their information like they go to a drive-through and get it. They don't want to actually take the time to really digest. And what's worse is like for example, regardless of how you feel about let's say the Israel-Palestine conflict, regardless of your perspective of that, if anytime someone asks a question or brings or like makes a point about, hey, I think it's this that you disagree with, if you shoot that down and attack the person, you're missing out on one of two things. Having that conversation where either you learn more from them, or you can kind of guide them to see your point of view, and then they might go, you're right. Actually, I didn't think of it that way. That kind of thing. Rather than
it's beautiful. Debate is beautiful. You're exactly right. Listen, just listen. And
I'm sorry,
have
what?
That, and just have that. I know. And then I interrupt you. I'm interrupting you right now.
What? Huh? No, great.
But it is true. The listening, it's people don't, it's so sad giving a hearing. And the fun thing is, like, even with your beliefs, just listen. They'll tell you what their views are. You don't have to. Anyway, and I think we're in a time where we don't have honest, objective journalism anymore. It's agenda. It's people that have been indoctrinated with ideologies and they just want to push them. And yeah, instead of what you just said, just listen. And then, yeah, let me talk about why I believe what I believe, or why I think the things that I think. And I'm going to give you the common courtesy. Yeah, not attack you. Oh, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You just triggered me.
You triggered me. You triggered
I'm
me.
not listening. I feel like you see the videos of.
Well, Corinna, this is a safe space. You can't question my truth.
Thank you. Thank you. I need a safe space because I can't imagine handle life without a safe space.
I love that South Park episode where they're all in the safe space and then this guy named Reality shows up. It's like, I'm cold and you guys, we can't deal with him. Not Reality.
I hate that Reality. He's an idiot.
Oh, no. But there's a difference between being kind to someone and be like, this might be where we find that toxic positivity is that like everything's great in my little bubble and I'm so happy and then my truth is validated, even though I don't have any concept of reality. Do you feel like, I mean, you kind of touched on it, but do you feel like trust in mainstream media has plummeted? And like, is there any sort place we can find media, or is it on us to be critical thinkers and really kind of digest what we're told?
Yeah, well, there you go. The critical thinking, that's what we need. We need more critical thinkers. I think that what you're doing is an important thing. I think that's why we have so many podcasts. When it comes to journalism, and I'm not a journalist major, all I know is that it takes honesty and objectivity, boots on the ground, and it doesn't seem like we have a lot of that. I mean, you have a little bit, but not a lot, like real stories. And I think that now it's sensationalism. It's been this way for so many years. We're conditioned. I think we've all been conditioned. I caught myself doing it the other day, yelling at the television. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm yelling at them going, are you kidding? Are you really this stupid? And I'm like, okay, this is, and I couldn't be a journalist. I get very emotional. That's why I know I don't have that gift. They have to be so poised. Tears.
Why don't you understand what I'm saying?
The whole time, that's awful. I don't know what to do. So, but no, it's sad. I think you're exactly right. No, I don't think we do. I think we've been so divided, and it may have been, purpose. Sadly, it might be on purpose.
Yeah.
Why did we fall in there? If you want to get into the spiritual realm, it's if you have a nation where the gospel's running freely, where the word of God is running freely, where you have a certain amount of Christians that love God, that have honor and virtue and integrity, which is the basis of our country and our Constitution, because the Constitution is only as good as its people. And if you have a people with no moral character, with no moral standards, with no, they'll lie to get their way. They'll cheat. They'll take a bribe. I think we have a lot of people at the heads of our government on both sides that, millions and millions and millions, are they going to have integrity and not take the millions offered and really do for the people? Yeah. I don't know. I think we have career politicians, and there's division, and the elites are so corrupt. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And that's why, yes, you have a right and a left on your mainstream media, because they are controlled by the puppets, and then they're puppets.
two heads of the same monster, you know?
Yes. And it's sad because we all should, united we stand. We should. Democrats, Republicans, we need not, you know, there are things that are right and things that are wrong. And if we're not all looking at that, things that are major, some things are, you know, you can, sadly, some things you shouldn't focus on, but there are certain things. And again, our Constitution, and it's all being skewed, and it is a system of freedom. And anyway, I get so sad when, you know, talking about media, it all trickles down. It's the people, sadly, you know, if you
I could be naive, but the fact that you and I are having this conversation though inspires me, because we're two people from different backgrounds that feel the same way. And there's a lot of people I talk to now.
I think there's more of us. There's much more of us.
And there is the prisoner's dilemma. Like people are afraid to speak up because then they're going to get canceled. You know, or they're going to, you know,
I think I was canceled long ago. Nobody knows who I am. That's why I thought it's all funny to me. I'm like,
I'm canceled. All right. Canceled me. Whatever. It's like,
I've been canceled.
that should be like been canceled. I've been there, done that. Whatever.
Been there, done that.
But I do think that there's like, you hit the nail on the head. We have a system of government that I think is set up for that lobbyist, for that thing where it's like you either take the money and compromise yourself, or in some cases, and I don't think it starts out like you get elected as you have this ideal, you go to DC and suddenly you're evil. I think what happens is it starts with that little thing here, a little bit there. Oh, and then you're a little bit compromised here. Or hey, you want to come to this island with Jeffrey Epstein? Hey, we're gonna go. Now you've done this. Yeah, whoops. But I feel like there's a lot that's shown to us to distract us. I mean, you were talking earlier about there's certain issues we shouldn't focus on. I feel like you're right. Like there are important issues, and there are important issues we should look at some point. But it's kind of like those we kind of need to put over here and address like that. It's kind of like the house is on fire and you're trying to figure out what color the drape should be. You know?
Exactly. I used to joke about it years ago when I used to joke, and you know, I used to think it was funny watching the news because they're like, oh yeah, North Korea is a huge threat. They're aiming missiles at us. But Britney Spears is, you know, it's like, wait, go back to the North Korea thing. Did you just say that North Korea has nuclear capability and Kim Jong-un wants to kill us? But Britney Spears, it's like, what? And that was years ago. I used to laugh. I'm like, what is the importance? We have this, it's just bizarro land. The things that we're interested in, and millions, and it fascinates me, like with Instagram. I really wonder if it's not an enemy because
or TikTok,
millions of followers on someone that is mentally ill. And I'm like, are people really liking this? Do you really like this? Because if 3 million people really like this, we are fucked. Excuse my language. And that's a Christian.
Yeah, exactly. But
oh my gosh, 3 million followers. And that is like the most, you know, and that's, anyway, and then again, it's their world. I won't say who I'm even thinking of in my mind, but it's like, you know, then I would be blasted for judging someone. And I'm not. I'm just making an honest assessment of, do you think this person is using their intellect? Do you think that they're a contribution to society in any way? Do you think that they're helping the moral fabric of America? Do you think that they're an encouragement to young people? You know, that's anyway, it's just funny. And then, you know, the pot calling the kettle black here because you know, I'm doing a slasher comedy. So you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, but I think that's a little different because like there's not a malicious intent. I don't think there's malicious intent with the other with whoever you may talk about because
no. But it's what people are interested in. You know, I would be a little scared to death if people, you know, if this movie became some huge success, that would not be something that I would be like, yay, America. I'm kidding.
But you know, it's interesting though because like with social media,
Trevor, if you ever hear this.
Yeah, Trevor, if your movie's a hit, the world is ending. But hey, Ruthless Angel in theaters.
Actually, it might be something that encourages people in an odd way because that's how crazy we've become. So we even have a pregnant man in our movie, and it's, you know,
there you go.
Pregnant man so he can abort his baby.
Oh, what? Well, that's an actual dude that said that he wants to be the first pregnant man to have an abortion, and I'm just like,
Trevor was ahead of his time then,
right? Predicting he's there with the Simpsons, predicting the future. As a you're a parent now, right?
Well, my daughter's 28, so
Well, see, as a parent, how did you feel? Okay, so she's 28 now, so. When she was a teenager, where were we with social media at that time?
Yeah, it wasn't for her. It was just starting as a teenager.
Like MySpace or?
She kind of, I think there are some late 20s, early 30s that kind of slipped through the cracks if they didn't latch on to the social media. I say that because my daughter my daughter and my husband cannot stand social media. He doesn't use it for marketing. He loves his freedom and privacy. And at first he was going to use it for his business. And then that's just his personal, you know, he doesn't need to use it. He's fine. Everything, you know, in his world, it's fine. My daughter, she loves her privacy, and I've always respected it too. You know, a lot of these kids, everybody posts everything, and this is my baby, and it was a different world for her because I was Playmate of the Year. I still have fans, which is interesting to me. But you know, I wanted to shield her from anything that she, you know, so we weren't big social media even when it started. It's the funniest thing. Gene Simmons' wife, Shannon Tweed, because she was a Playmate, is why I know her and have worked with her numerous times. She's who talked me into getting on Facebook. And I'm like, I don't think I want to. This is years ago. She goes, oh, get on there. You're going to have a ball. You're going to meet. And it was fun. And it, you know, and then I had fun with Instagram for a while. But the really odd thing about Instagram, the really strange thing about Instagram and is that it seems monitored to me more than ever. Like I've watched it where they don't want you to share certain things, and it's it's really weird. But then again, some people, they're making, you know, they're monetizing on it. But I think it's more of a socialist platform. I really do. I think it comes from a socialistic, you know, you're not paying for it. You're not, and there's, anyway, I just,
well, no, it
very moderated.
I think it reinforces a certain mindset too. You know, it goes back to the getting the likes. You know, I always think of, was it, I don't want to say it's Joseph Stalin, but they're talking about how, you know, useful idiots are those people that are so rabidly into an agenda that they follow blindly, and political people can use those useful idiots. And I think a lot of times, you know, if you get likes, like if I do a tweet, or I guess now it's an X post, whatever it's called now, I do a tweet or I do an Instagram post, and I say, you know, I really enjoyed Panera today. It was delicious. Only like a couple friends of mine might like it, and one person will give me a hard time, like, oh, you should be eating a salad. You know, like that. Yeah, that's all I get. But if I say something like, you know, I think I want both the Palestinians and the Israelis to stop dying, then all of a sudden it's like, I get this like
it's so weird.
and this,
it's
and
weird, isn't it?
It is, and it's this.
I don't post anything on Facebook anymore because I'm not there to debate with people. I don't want to. And don't you think this started really bad about 5 years ago? I would say maybe more. And it became very political, and people that hated, they hated on both sides. And I would but same thing with Christianity. If I would make a post, I would get all these negative comments. I'm like, gosh. And it became this crazy debate and people fighting over things. And I was just giving an opinion. I don't want to sit and do this. I'm just, it's too much. Again, there's my laziness, and maybe I'm not thinking, and maybe I should have fought harder, because a lot of people should stand up for things, but it's like so much. And
it's exhausting. Well, and you shouldn't have to be fighting all the time. Like my dad, I love my dad to pieces, but he is an example of the echo chamber, the bubble. And he's a very smart guy, but he gets in this very kind of right-wing echo chamber, and it's hard for him to kind of like turn that off. For example, my aunt posted pictures of her granddaughter and going to school pictures, and she's getting ready for her first day of school. It's first day of first grade, and here we go. And then Dad goes, "Well, don't let Joe Biden see her like this." Blah, blah. I'm like, Dad, Dad, no, step away from go touch some grass. This is not the place for that. And I've got friends that are very left that are just like that. Like if you post a tweet, or I retweeted "God is great" one time, and it was like, okay, I didn't know you were one of these.
You're so religious,
and I'm like, what? Yeah. First of all, God can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Second of all, what did you just don't? If you don't like what I said, don't.
God is not good.
God is not good.
No.
God is evil. Okay. Good luck with that, buddy. Yeah, it's silly. It's really silly when you step back and look at it, and it's so.
Yeah, it is. It's so. Yeah, you wish it's that goes back to Rodney King. Why can't we all just get along?
We all just get along.
But it's agreeing to disagree. There's not a gentleman's disagreement anymore, or it's. That's supposed to be gentleman's agreement, but gentlemen, I can't even use that anymore. It's like
gentleman, you mean gentle person, right?
Yes, I don't identify as that. I'm sorry. I think people don't know what's rude. They don't know what's right. They don't know what's wrong or which end is up, and so they learn things, and it's sad. It's all sad. You can learn a lot from Hugh Hefner.
Yeah.
As weird as that is, he was very objective and had friends on the right, on the left, and they enjoyed things. They're good food and cigars and conversation, and it was open conversation. And I think we do need more of that. Like you just said, I've watched people, if I barely give my point of view, where they're done with me.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm done. I'm done with you. You're a racist. I'm like, where did that come from?
Well, let me ask you this.
Doesn't even make sense.
If Hugh Hefner were alive today, would he be considered a leftist, or would he almost be considered? Because it seems like a lot of people that were on the left are now almost feel like they haven't changed, but it's like everything's gone so far like this way that the Playboy lifestyle. When I was growing up, and when I was getting older, I admired Hef because of the journalism. I mean, of course, the magazine was a hit for obvious reasons, but like the lifestyle, it was very it's something that I've seen in various formations now. Like there's a middle school, there are two middle school teachers, male teachers, that they have a thing called the Gentleman's Club, and it's obviously when you hear gentlemen's club, you think of this thing, but it's teaching these young middle school boys how to be a gentleman, how to be, manners, and how to treat people. Exactly. Thoughtfulness and really and how to, and the benefits of dressing well and the benefits of that kind of thing. And I think that's tremendous. But, of course, they're getting under fire because it's like, that's indoctrination. How do you know that these kids?
Yeah.
I was like, just come on.
No.
Man, come on.
And if you did a study on these things, there is something beautiful about gender and, masculinity and femininity. And, I miss that people, I'm old fashioned. I am. But I think there's a lot of benefits to that. I love when a man opens my door, and, I like those distinctions, and I should have the freedom to be able to enjoy that without offending someone.
Yeah.
I like when a man opens the door for me. Oh no.
And see, and I think the opposite is true too.
Stones at you. You're like, oh gosh.
I like when a man opens the door. How dare you? Oh my goodness. What kind of feminist are you? It's like, well, yeah. And I think men need to feel needed too. Men want to feel appreciated for opening the door for a woman. Like it's almost like there's this fear, if I open the door for this woman, is she going to appreciate it, or is she going to look like, I could have opened that door myself? What are you trying to put me back in the kitchen? It's
exactly.
It's bizarre. What are some misconceptions some people, especially maybe today, may have of Hugh Hefner and the Playboy empire?
Misconceptions. Well, for one thing, there's a whole movement. And getting back to, I don't think we even discussed this, but some organizations that think the ends justifies the means. And like with #MeToo, that whole movement, there's very real victims of very real crimes. And if they've been convicted and there's evidence and, and all of those things are horrific and horrible. But we're living in a time, again, with social media and #MeToo, and it becomes a trend, and it becomes a way for, people to tear people down. I think that Hugh Hefner's legacy it has been, I don't even know what word to use. Yes, tarnished is a great word to use for that. It's been tarnished. And I think that those things are very sad.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of a whole other, that'd be a whole other conversation. But getting back to legacy, he has a wonderful legacy with, all kinds of reasons why. And morally, even if you don't agree with his lifestyle, only in America could Hugh Hefner have built that empire. And, you can see he's a perfect example of almost a reaction to legalism in the Christian church. And, people that put people down for things, and we're human. And there are a lot of people in the church that will pretend that they're something that they aren't. And he was not a wolf in sheep's clothing. He wasn't even a wolf, but you have people painting him as this monster. And I think it's sad, and it's part of gossip and maligning and judging. And I think Cooper, Hef's son, said it best when he said he thinks that some of these women saying these things, it's kind of their own regrets. And there again, they probably haven't found Jesus Christ. That's between you and me. But, and so they're going to use their own sense of, because they're almost like, I can't believe I did that, but I better make it better.
You better be a villain. Yeah.
He's the monster and a villain. I have to have a villain in my life, and I'm very virtuous. And I believe completely the opposite. And there's that documentary, the one I'm talking about, I won't even mention what it is, but everyone has seen it. And because it's produced so well, I think people believe things and shame on these journalists. And people that are not only not getting facts, but it's almost like we praise people that are mentally ill, you know, and that's weird too. And here was a man that did a lot for a lot of people. And the things that are being said, I loved Hef. So many people did. I never slept with Hugh Hefner, and whether I did or didn't, that would be my business, but I would own up to it. You know, I'd be like, yeah, he was my boyfriend and we had, you know, whatever that would be, you know, but he was always a gentleman to everyone that I've ever spoken to. He was always a gentleman, always kind, always gracious, always giving, and, you know, made my life enriched in so many ways. And it wasn't vulgar or dirty or weird. And he didn't invite me to his bedroom. I think a lot of these girls clawed their way in, you know, and then when he had reinvented himself, you know, they wanted part of his harem. That is a personal choice, but it's no reason to attack a person who never, and I will say this in his defense, because his brand was very important to him. As you know, it was the Playboy brand was not hustler. It was not dirty. He would not kiss and tell. He would not have brought you into the bedroom. Isn't that funny? Even though it was Playboy, and you have people that are, if you listen to people, they're a reflection of what they are. And usually people are protecting their flaws, you know, when they're so upset about something or adamant about something. It's like, you're covering something up, or you're lying, protecting your flaws, to make yourself look good. And I think, you know, there's a lot of that going on, and it's very sad, biting the hand that fed you, and you wouldn't even, you know, nobody would know who you are, and you're making millions off of your plight, and, you know, and it's no plight. And sadly, I don't think those people will ever, no matter how much money, success, praise, you know, they're not going to ever have true peace and happiness. And I wish them the best. I really do. I pray for all these people, because life is short, time is short, and you know, we don't know if we're going to have another day on this planet, or if America's even going to still be here at the rate we're going, Aaron.
We're still on the podcast right now, so we got that going for us. But hey, you know, in the world, there's our comedy. Yeah, it's interesting too, because you talked about journalists and even documentaries. Now you've got to really be a critical thinker. You know, I don't know if you're familiar with Russell Brand, but yes. He's had this podcast for the last few years called Awakenings, and it's like it's changed different ways, but he's kind of morphed from he's talked about and put books out about his very checkered past, about where he's been, you know, he was addicted to alcohol, addicted to sex. He had this wild time when he was in the Hollywood, you know, and then he does meditation. He's found Christ. He's become very centered. And his podcast, though, has been really speaking to a lot of truth to power about, you know, kind of the same things we were talking about earlier. It's like, oh, wait a second, you're telling us this, but you're doing this and that, you know, talking about, you know,
he presents all this facts. He presents like truth. And people are it is. I love how he says awakening wonders, because
welcome on my 6 million awakening wonders. But he puts it out there like, I want to know what you think. He doesn't really say, like, he'll say kind of his thoughts, but he'll also he'll put it out there of, well, what do you think, and respect. Like, he's got that, carries himself as someone that will respect a different opinion, and he'll even, like, if he gets more data, which I think is important, he'll process that and learn from it. But then all of a sudden, when all those allegations came out, and there's that documentary about, this horrible thing, and there was a lot of things implied, but it was weird how they worded certain things. But then some women came out that they approached, but when they only had nothing but positive things to say about Russell, they left him alone. So there clearly was that agenda there.
That's exactly what they did with this documentary. I spoke to one of the producers, and they were filling my head with things even. And I'm like, wait a minute, back up. These are people that I knew, that I spent time with. Did you know and spend time with these people? Because that's, you know, I spent time. So I'm sure, yeah, anything good, yeah, they don't want to hear it. And that's not objectivity, because yes, you're right. The viewer, with whatever we're watching, we should be able to form our own opinion, not them form it for us. And there's the difference. And that's why I love Russell Brand as well. I really do. Yeah. And we need more people like him. We need people that are critical thinkers and not, letting those fires of emotion, and he's so brilliant. I can tell you, I'm lazy a lot, and I definitely don't have a gift like he does, because I love how he breaks it down and reads things, and not only reads it, finds, there's a fire in him. I think God's using him. I really do, just to, give people the truth so that you can form an opinion that betters. You want to better your country. You want to, yourself, right?
Yeah. Do you think a lot of that too, though, is, I mean, I try to treat a lot of people with a grain of salt if they have an opinion that I disagree with. One, I want to listen to, it's like, why, tell me what brings you to that thought, or why do you feel this way? And sometimes it's leads to a great discussion, because they'll say, this, and then it goes to that whole, I'll either learn from them, or I might share some of, my thoughts, and it might give them a different perspective. But a lot of times they kind of homina. They go, oh, well, that's just what I feel. And I'm just like, and it kind of,
I don't want to be, I know you're actually helping me to realize I need to be more proactive. I think we all do, because thought is hard. It is, but it's hard. Like I think earlier we were saying that thinking is not easy. I've been sent articles, and I've read things because it's differing opinion from mine. I have a friend that's very, very liberal, and we used to go back and forth with things, but we can have a dialogue and conversation, but there are things that he had sent me that I saw that was not true. Whether it was a paragraph or something leading you in a different direction, and it's persuasive writing. And a lot of people, if they would arm themselves and understand, we learned that in school, in elementary school. Adults don't even know that now. It's like, no, that's persuasive writing. Yeah. They're persuading you to believe their thoughts. That's not journalism. So it was one of those, and I'm going to be honest, and shame on me. I get too lazy. I'm like, I don't want to sit and debate with this person all day. I'm not going to send you, oh, this is wrong, and blah, 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 blah. But I think a lot of good people have done that. And that's why we have a bunch of, I'm just being honest, it's like foolish people that don't have facts. They have emotion and opinion. Or ideology, or dangerous ideologies, and they don't even realize it, and then they think they're right, and they're not going to listen, like you said. They're not going to listen anyway. I think that's why I just got tired of it. It's like, never mind.
Whatever.
You're gonna think what you think, and it's
good luck with that.
Yeah, the scary thing is, I love my country. I love America. I love America. I do. And I don't think that that's anything to be ashamed of. And I want the best for America. And I wish we could all talk about things to make America, a good country, and a place.
I bet you were going to say, make America great again.
Yeah. But you can't say that.
How can you say that?
Think of how that is just so bizarre that
that is a bad thing to say now.
You can't say that. You can't make America great again.
Do you think Fred Durst? Do you think Fred Durst is ashamed that he wore a red hat when he was big with Limp Bizkit? Because he was wearing the red cap was his thing, and then now red cap, and people immediately assume. And
where's my red cap? I'm just kidding.
But
I have my West Virginia.
It is.
Cap.
Oh, yeah, and I do want to talk about West Virginia, because I love the pictures that you were showing. But I was an elementary school teacher for 10 years. I actually teach elementary online now, but for 10 years I was in the classroom. And one of the things we really try to push, and one of the things I noticed when teaching science, is how the scientific method could apply to everything. Whereas you have, you come up with a hypothesis, but you've got to separate yourself from the hypothesis, because, and I think that's difficult for a lot of people, because they find identity in their beliefs. So when new data is presented, to change their belief means to change who they are.
And they need to weigh it, and it has nothing to do with that. That is, wow, maybe you should write a book, Aaron, that's based on the science, because that's what I learned in school. And I loved that. I loved science, and I loved the hypothesis and then coming up with the conclusion, and how you came up with the conclusion and are fed more information. Yeah.
All right. You heard it right here. I'm going to start the book. And I promise I won't get ChatGPT to write it for me. I'll just, but that's the thing. Like, I had a great moment where we were teaching magnets, and we were doing an experiment with magnets. And one of my students said, because we had these 3 magnets, and one had a red sticker, one had blue, one had green. And his hypothesis was that the red magnet is more powerful than the other 2 because it's red. And that was his hypothesis. Now, all 3 magnets were the same. And a couple students in the class went, those and this guy. And I said, no, we're going to roll with this, because here's this illustrated the difference between a hypothesis and like a person. And is that are we getting canceled?
My home phone. I'm so sorry.
That's right. Are they canceling us? No. They're trying to stop us right now.
I'm so sorry. I'm all, hello. No,
like, that's enough.
Anyway, yeah. So
basically, he through the data, he proved that they were all the same. They had the same strength. That the red one was not stronger. But we had this conversation. It's like, okay, his hypothesis was proven wrong. Does that make him wrong? And they kind of thought about it. It's like, he's not wrong, because he's a good scientist, because in his conclusion, he said, actually, the hypothesis is incorrect based on the data, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's such an important teachable moment. I think that's something we need as adults to remember, is I might believe this about Israel and this about Palestine, but then if I get new information and I process it, okay, then I can kind of change my mind without going, no, this is what I believe, and that kind of thing. And I think that's what a lot of people really need to do. We need to do more communication, and we need to do a lot more active listening.
I'm grateful for teachers like you, because that is, you're shaping young minds, and they don't even realize through those lessons that they're learning to that's problem solving and critical thinking. And it's and exactly, and emotions have nothing to do with that. And that kid, but for a different teacher, it could be, people learn to be emotional and make it about themselves. That's another thing. That's why I love acting. It's people think actors are very selfish. They're very unselfish. They're some of the most unselfish people, because you're being completely objective with a character and becoming subjective. Anyway, it's so fascinating to me, all of this stuff, because it's the same with science. It's a very selfless thing, and when you make an issue of yourself, when you make an issue of your emotions, when just all of these things that children should be taught, I think they aren't.
Yeah.
It's sad, because it opens it opens you up to, I'm not going to condemn you for trying to figure something out. You're just trying to figure it out. It's okay. We don't think like that anymore. It's like, no, you're this because you think this way, and you blah, blah, blah. It's like, wait, what happened to civilize? And there you go. Civilization, what does it mean to be civilized? What does the word arrogance mean? I have a young friend that actually worked for me for a while, who didn't have a big vocabulary, and vocabulary is thought.
Yes,
that's what forms the language is thought. That's what forms our thinking, and how we form a sentence, and even to be able to put it all together. And he would always ask me, what does that mean? What does that mean? I've never heard that. And even just saying, you know, things that you've said forever, like let's just kill two birds with one stone, or, you know, he had never even heard any of those things. And it was so cute and fun, but he had, you know, because I always say, I used to teach acting to kids, and and it was fun to teach, but humility is teachability. And I taught also Bible to young kids too, which is a totally different thing. But, you know, humility is teachability. And if we're arrogant and not humble, if you're humble, you can listen. If you're humble, if you come from a place of humility, and it's not a false humility. It's not, oh, shucks, you know, kicking up. It's really, I don't already know. And I think we live in times where people, they'd rather talk than listen, and they already know the answer. I've talked, I'm sure you've talked to people like that. Like,
yeah, they're waiting for their turn to speak or say their thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And informing their thoughts and not really, the art of conversation is a beautiful thing. Yeah.
It is. I like, I recommend checking out Daryl Davis. If you haven't heard of him before, he was a blues musician who traveled with, like, he would travel for gigs with James Brown and a lot of very famous musicians. And he started, like, he started traveling with, you know, he would travel with white members of the bands, and he's traveled with a member of the KKK. He was one of the other musicians, was a KKK member, and they did this like long drive, and they just started talking. And instead of, like, you know, shame on you, blah, 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 he just asked him questions and just had a conversation. And by the end of the tour, the other musician turned in his robe and hood to Daryl Davis and quit the KKK.
Wow.
And he has now over 200 robes and hoods just by conversations.
Goosebumps. Yeah.
Look up Daryl Davis. It's tremendous.
I just did. I wrote him down so I can. Yeah, that's beautiful.
And it's tremendous, because to me, that's the power of conversation. When you immediately attack even, I mean, I think we both could agree, KKK, we're probably not going to be joining the KKK.
That's the right and wrong thing. That's definitely wrong.
Exactly. But instead of attacking that person for his beliefs, by asking him, tell me, why do you feel this way? And getting them to kind of have that conversation, what starts to happen is, you know, one, you're humanizing them, and they're having to explain, but then they're like, wait a second, this guy is talking to me and treating me like a human. You know, and like that, there's that cognitive dissonance that starts to go on to the point where he realized, I don't think I know what I'm talking about. And I think that's, and now that's a situation where
they saw Daryl's love, I'm sure.
Yes.
You know, and they're like, I respect him more than anybody that I'm around with the KKK.
Yeah.
I think it's a real deal here. I'm ashamed of myself. Yeah. Wow.
That's good stuff. And I hope we can get to a place in society where we can be like that. And I'm hoping.
Beautiful story, Aaron. I can't wait to look that up, because those are the stories that should be shared. That's a documentary I want to see, because just what you just said, instead of the arguing and the condemning, that's how you disarm evil, because evil exists. Evil is real. Yeah. Wow.
You dispel it with, and it's funny, was it the saying that nobody wants to censor truth, or nobody wants to censor a lie, they only censor truth. And, you know, like, if you like, a lie can make it halfway around the world before the truth gets its pants on. You know, like, there's like, people will believe a lie for as quick as they can, but the truth, sometimes it really takes getting. But I give a grain of salt to people that don't want to deal, or they don't want to go deep because they've got too much going on in their lives. But it's a shame that we can't go back to where there's objectivity, or as close as objectivity as you can get as a human in media and in news, because, you know, some people may just, the surface is all they can get. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like the surface is like they're dealing with, and maybe there's something to that too. I've had a couple of friends of mine that were on the podcast before. One of my friends, Lori Young, she talks about how she only pays attention to the local news. She only reads like the sheriff's website because she wants to only worry about the stuff that directly affects her and not worry about, you know, what's going on in New York or what's going on in the here or there, because that's very stuff that doesn't directly affect her. I feel like it's good to pay attention to what's going on in the world.
I do too.
But I feel like there's a lot more platforms, a lot more conversations like the conversation you and I are having that makes me feel better about society and that there are a lot of us like this. I mean, here's two people having the same thoughts, same conversation. And I think that's what there is I don't want to say like silent majority, but I think there's a lot more of us that are just like, no, but it's the empty cans make the most noise. And it's like social media. It's like before every village had its idiot. And now with the social media, all the villages can get together in their own group and sound like one big idiot, you know. So I don't know if that's that's another analogy, but
I love it. That's fun.
Corinna, this has been awesome. I mean, we could do another 3 hours. I mean, we could
I know. You have me wanting to. I have so many. You keep sparking my things that now I really think though you should write a book that helps people, young people critical think, and it is like science, and it's just there's certain tools I think that all of us could use there, don't you? Like
absolutely,
even to be able to listen, because I go from seeing I do watch all the I like to, it does make you okay. What's right? What's wrong? Is that a opinion of theirs, or is that a fact? Is that but we're thrown all of that, and it makes it difficult. So even a simple book to help people think, what is opinion versus thought? What, for one thing, what is a hypothesis? What is, things like the kid I was telling you, and then I'll shut up because I know we're done. But the kid that I would tell him, like my dad used to tell me, if I didn't know a word, look it up, use it in a sentence right now, and I'm grateful that my dad did that. He would use a big word, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. Go look it up when we had dictionaries, and I look it up in the dictionary.
Okay, Google,
So I would, but it opened his mind, but then. Anyway, I
think that's tremendous. Do you feel like today's youth are a bit spoiled with modern technology? Like, just being able to Google. I mean, the kids that I've been teaching for the last several years, they've grown up with Google. They don't believe that I lived in a time where there wasn't internet.
Encyclopedia. I used to do all of my book reports with the encyclopedia and have to find, and then find other sources. I think of that. That helped us to be more open, I think, and objective. Even those simple things that were, throughout school, you having to go to the library, check out a book, find other references. No one does that. You're right. There's, Google. What does that mean? Look up Google. But does it really stick? Do they just get the information?
I found it on Wikipedia. It was on Wikipedia, so it must be true. Oh gosh. No. Let's talk about it. One of the cool moments I had was during the Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump election. I had two students, and they were, of course, I keep my own personal political and beliefs out of my teaching, but because what I do push is I want them to question. I want them to come to their understandings and how might you prove, or what brings you to that feeling. And we're sitting there were two of my high level readers, and something we were reading brought to this discussion about, got into a political discussion. And one of the students, you clearly both of these kids were just regurgitating what their parents were saying, and so the first student, he's like, that's why we need to elect Donald Trump, because he's going to save our country and blah, blah, blah. And I just looked at him and said, well, tell me why you feel that way. Explain to me what makes you feel that way. Why him? And he kind of went, well, because and he just started trying to like regurgitate talking points. But when I would ask him more, and I wasn't trying to embarrass him, I was just trying to get him to really
make him think. Yeah,
because really. Either it was going to steal his steal, you know, STEEL, steal his argument, or it was going to make him really, you know, okay, this is what I need to know so I can really believe this. Well, as he clearly started to kind of stutter a little bit, the other student, he starts smirking and he's like, yeah, right. That's why we need Hillary, right, Mr. B? And he just kind of was like smug about it. And I said, why do you think Hillary Clinton should be the president? And his eyes got real big, like, oh no, now I'm on the spot. And he was just as homina. And both of those kids, I know they went home and I had to send a little message. I didn't call, but I just sent an email to both sets of parents saying, just a heads up, this is what happened. This is how I handled it. Just be prepared because they're probably going to come back with questions. But I didn't push my political beliefs or anything at all. And they, but I felt like that was such a good moment because it's really getting, you know, when you get somebody to try to explain why they believe something, it really pushes it forces them to really think about it. Now, you may say that and then they come with some strong data, then you're learning. You're like, oh, I didn't see that, you know, like, you know, like, and I think that's important. And being able to separate yourself from your hypothesis, you can be awesome. So, oh yeah. And you were also a Playmate of the Year, 1992. How was that?
I know, we haven't even gotten started. We probably will just have to do this again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. By the way,
it was awesome. I mean, it's really, I didn't expect to get Playmate of the Year. I was Miss August 1991. And it was, you know, when it was a prestigious magazine, believe it or not. And you know, my grandma, I never would have done it. My friends put my centerfold on their walls because they thought it was hilarious. My girlfriends, because I was always very modest. I always covered my swimsuit. If we were swimming, I would wear a t-shirt over my swimsuit. I wouldn't change in front. I'm still that way. I would have girlfriends that are like, we're all girls here. Why are you hiding in the bathroom to change? And then, so when I posed for the magazine, and my mom, you know, she's so cute. She goes, Corinna, we know you're not good. I say she's cute. It was a funny insult. She goes, we know you're not going to college. So this is a great opportunity. I'm like,
oh, gee, Mom.
But it was the best, you know, honestly, the best college I could have ever, you know.
You're not going to college. Thanks, Mom.
You're going to pose for a nudie magazine.
There you go. Well, you know, it's interesting too. Do you feel though, like, because I've heard other Playmates say this too, that they'd rather pose nude for Playboy than like in a bikini for some other magazine, you know, like you know, like there's prestige, but also there was class. Did you notice that difference?
Oh, 1,000%. So if you think about it, I was 18 when my boyfriend at the time brought me an article in the newspaper that said Playmates wanted. And I was so upset and mortified. Because once I figured out what it was, at first because I was a volunteer for youth. I was a youth camp volunteer, all of these different things, would do summer camps. And so I thought it was like golfing with the elderly, checkers, unfortunate, you know, like with a big sister. And then when he said, no, it's Playboy, I was mortified. I said, Mom, Dean wants me to do Playboy. And my mom's like, oh, I think this is a great opportunity for you. Oh,
you're not going to college.
No, yes. So that's the joke. But I will tell you, even my test shoot with Marie Erickson, who's still my dear friend, she's the one that discovered me. She was a Playmate scout and always wanted to be a Playmate, you know, and was very good friends with the photo editor. Even taking photos with her, and she was wonderful. My cousin was swimming in the backyard. Talk about God, because I was comfortable right away. I was so scared. And then there's my cousin, that's her daughter's best friend. And and I felt so awkward, but she didn't even make me go get nude. I was in a lingerie, and then they flew me out to Chicago. I'm a Chicago girl as far as the Playboy shoot. Mm-hmm. And I'm still friends with the makeup artist. I'm still friends with everyone that's still alive. Talk about professionalism and a family, not a weird Manson family like some people are saying, but a real family, like of decent human beings. And I never once felt, believe it or not, objectified or odd or awkward. Except for the centerfold, every girl cries, and it's because you're holding the pose so still, but that's another story. I never been more protected and been around better human beings, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And so it was a wonderful experience. And then, yes, I did photo shoots afterward with some real creeps. Yeah. One creep was such a creep. I felt like, and my sister and I were going to do a photo shoot, and we had to get out of there. We were thinking, are we going to have to kill this guy? This was weird.
Angel was about to,
you know, so you get, and it was never weird like that. So then I was spoiled. Very spoiled, because, and that's probably why I didn't do a lot of modeling. Like the other girls did a lot of modeling, and I wished I had when I was young and, you know, could do it. But I wasn't, I was very shy. I wasn't a good model, but Playboy captured things, and they did a beautiful job, and I was very comfortable, very professional. And yeah, afterward, I don't think I did a lot of photos because I had some really bad experiences.
That's too bad too. You know, yeah. But it creates a sorority too among other playmates, right? Is there like
absolutely.
You know, it's like, hey, I'm 92. Oh, I'm 87. I'm 2001.
Yes, so fun. My Playmate of the Year party had the most playmates in attendance, and my cousins that were there, because my family all came. I had cousins that were meeting the year they were born and their month they were born. They're going around. Oh, it became like a game.
Yeah,
you know,
like a bingo. Like, all right.
It's a special camaraderie. A lot of very special, very brilliant ladies. You have ladies with their PhDs and pilots, and that's what's fun. You know, it's not. Hef really knew how to pick them. He did. Yeah. Let's be real.
Yeah, they were three-dimensional. You know, like it wasn't. They weren't just like, you know, I like ice cream. You know, there was a lot.
No, you had to go through media training when in the 90s even, and know how to talk to the media. And it's so funny how things have shifted, because I remember how to speak. You know, they would tell you, and again, it's always manners and being thoughtful and courteous. And so when people are being mean to you, which there were a lot of women that were the women's lib, but they could be very vicious and mean and cruel. And so they would tell you how to speak to them. And it was really,
bless your heart.
I learned a lot with Playboy.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So you did kind of go to college, but you got a scholarship, if you will. You know,
people, my goodness, just the travel and learning travel etiquette, and you know, I mean, it goes on. The list goes on, being with dignitaries and you know, being around the very high profile people, very famous people, and knowing, you know, you learn I was so young. It just. And nothing like you would think, you know, when I say those things, nothing was expected of us. That, you know, it's anyway. I hate to even have to defend that now, but
no,
a lot of just real people, and
people can't help it. They'll you know, they sometimes think like that, but it seemed like it's really, you know, but Playboy being that very classy kind of representation of, it was so much more than just the photos.
It really was art, and yes, and there was a depth to the girls. Of course, I'm partial to all the girls in the 90s who are still my friends, and I
am too, because so you know I graduated in 93 from high school, so I was, you know, that 90s was kind of those are my girls in my you know, field. But it's cool. And just kind of, also congratulations on your 29th anniversary. I saw that post a couple months back, and it's weird though, because you're only 29, but you had a 29th wedding anniversary. It's weird how that happens.
I know. So bizarre. That's what I keep saying. I'm like, I can't even believe it. Where our anniversaries are same age. But I have to get to he's actually home now. So I'm gonna I guess we should maybe do this again. Look, I'm inviting myself back on your show.
No, absolutely. I'd love to. We gotta get another 3-4 hours in the can. But so this will be part 1. Maybe we'll maybe when we get closer to Ruthless Angel coming out.
Yes.
And I'll send you some.
Are you in Las Vegas?
No, I'm actually in Virginia Beach on the East Coast.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, but there's actually in May, my wife and I are coming out for AEW wrestling, which is All Elite Wrestling, and they do their pay-per-view called Double or Nothing, and so we're gonna come out to Vegas. Plus, she has a whole side of her family in Vegas. Her Uncle Leo lives out in Vegas, and she's got 2 cousins that live out there, and so we're gonna come out there. We'll see them, but we're going out for us. We'll see the family, but this is an us trip. This is a date trip.
It's important. That's so important. Yes,
absolutely.
So you guys enjoy. Yeah, enjoy.
We're looking forward to it. I'll send you some clips too. Just a couple of things to some of the women's wrestling that maybe check out where they do the flippy stuff.
And I look up moves. I learn different moves, and it's fun. So yes, I appreciate that, Aaron. That'll help me out, and I'll send you any information. As we I think we have 5 more scenes to film, and then we wrap. It's kind of stretched out, but 5 more scenes, and Ruth is wrapped.
Ruth is wrapped. Well, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be awesome. And so I'll put all your socials at the end. Is Instagram your favorite, or Facebook?
Yeah, Instagram is fine. I have 3 different ones. I need to figure that out. But Facebook, I have, I think, what is it? On Facebook, it's just Corinna Harney. I don't even have Corinna Harney Jones on there, which is silly. I don't know why I don't, but it's because my other one. But you can follow me, Corinna Harney, on Facebook or Instagram, and I have to look at it again because I have 2 different ones. And the one that I've been the most active on is Corinna Harney -Jones. Yeah, and it talks about,
we'll get that one. I love saying Corinna Harney Jones because, again, maybe that's the next movie, is you're fighting crime with Pam Grier on the streets. Corinna Harney Jones. West, sugar.
I love it.
Get that 70s guitar going.
Yes, yes.
Well, this has been awesome. Any final words of wisdom or inspiration to our listeners before we sign off?
Oh my gosh, words of wisdom, just
or anything.
Seek truth. And be kind.
Seek truth, you awakening wonders.
Seek truth, you awakening wonders, and be kind, and
yes, and be genuinely kind.
And listen and find conviction, whatever you're, Anyway, I love peace. I used to always say peace, love, and granola bars.
Well,
my husband still is like, I cannot believe you. Always used to say that. Peace, love, and granola bars. But yeah, gratitude and love and all of that stuff. And I'm grateful to have been on your on your show.
This has been awesome. I'm grateful to have you. So you heard it here. Peace, love, and granola bars. This is Mental Health Mondays, and this is part 1 of a multi-part series, I'm sure, with Corinna Harney Jones. And we'll be back when the Ruthless Angel, Ruth Angel, makes her debut. This has been Ron, Mind Runner for Mental Health Mondays, and have a great week. Peace, love, and granola bars. Okay, catch new episodes of Mental Health Mondays every Monday morning at 7 a.m. Start your week off with a smile and some inspiration.